Hi everyone, welcome back to AI Incarnation. Today we are building a sleek Python dashboard with Streamlit, complete with a segmented control style, add new entry button that launches a Modal form. So without wasting time, let's dive in. We will create a new file, modal demo.py. We will start by importing the Streamlit and pandas library. For that we'll simply say import Streamlit as st, import pandas as pd. So these are the two libraries that we want, and we'll start by initializing a session state data frame. For that, we'll simply say if data frame not in st.session state will initialize a session state data frame that will be session state.df that will be equals to pd.dataframe, and we'll give column names as name and age. For this demo, we will have only two columns, that is name and age, and we have initialized the data frame here in the session state. It will check if the data frame exists in the session state, and if it does not, we will initialize an empty data frame with name and age columns. So this will ensure that our data persists across the reruns. Next is toggling the modal with the segmented control button. So for that, we'll simply say if show underscore form not in st.session state show form as false. So by default, we want the modal to be hidden until and unless the show form is set to true. So once the show form is set to true using the button, the modal will appear on the screen. Next is a segmented control button. So this will allow the user to click on the button, and once the user clicked, we will set the show form to true. That will change the boolean state of the show form as true, and the modal will appear on the screen. For that, we'll simply say segmented control plus button, and for this we'll simply say st dot button add new entry, and we'll simply say st dot session state dot show form as true. So once the user click on this button add new entry, the boolean value of show form will be set as true and the modal will appear on the screen. So these are the three session states that we want in our app. Here is the magic st.dialog button that will create a modal window. So inside this, we will place a batched form called as the entry form. When the user fills the name and age and clicks submit, we will build a new one row data frame and we will concatenate this into the session state data frame. Once that is done, we will hide the dialog box by setting the show form to false. And we will call the st.rerun so that the dialog box immediately closes and the dashboard refreshes. So to add this, we'll simply say add the rate st.dialog, and here we'll simply say add new entry, and we will define a function that will be show add entry. So we'll create a form with st.form. The id for this form will be entry underscore form, and we'll create two variables, name and age. Name will be equals to st.text input and we'll take the name, and age will be st.number input, we'll take age. Minimum value will be 0, maximum value will be 120, and step size will be 1. So we'll create a button, submit button, which will be equals to st.form submit button, and once the user submit this, we need to perform two actions. One is to set the show form value to false so that the dialog box will disappear and we will show the data frame that is updated. For that, we'll simply say if submit button, that means the user has clicked this button, simply say new underscore row is equals to pd.dataframe, and name and age, we'll set those columns to name and age, and then we'll set the st.session state data frame that we will be using to concatenate this data frame, and we will concatenate this new row to the session state data frame. So once that is done, we'll simply set the session state show form value to false so that the dialog box will disappear from the screen, and we'll simply say st.success entry added, and we'll simply rerun the application st.rerun. That's it. So this is the code block which will do the magic for us. So once the user click on the button, it will pop up with the dialog box where we can enter the name and age. So once the name and age is entered by the user and the user clicks on submit, it will create a new one row data frame, and we will concatenate that data frame to the session state data frame. Once all that is done, we'll simply set the session state show form to false so that the dialog box will disappear, and will pop up a message that is st.success entry added, and we will simply rerun the application so that we will have the updated values. We can see them. Next is to display the dialog box conditionally. So to do that, we'll simply say if st.sessionState.showForm, we'll simply call the show add entry. So what this will do is that it will check whether the show form is set to true. Until and unless the show form is not set to true, it will not pop up the dialog box. So once the st.sessionState.showForm is set to true, it will pop up the dialog box. At last, we need to render the data frame that we have just populated. So we'll simply say display the updated data frame, and for that we'll simply call st.dataframe, and inside this we'll call st.sessionState and the data frame that we have created in the session state. So let's run this and see how it works. I've activated the virtual environment, and now we will run this. We'll simply say Streamlit space run space modal demo.py. Here it is. So we can see that the session state data frame is empty because we don't have any data in this data frame, and we have a button that is add new entry. So once we click on this add new entry, we can see that a modal box appeared, and we can enter the values here. For example, we can say name as Alice, the age is 25. We'll simply click on submit. There you go. So we have added the Alice and her age is 25. Simply we can add more rows, Bob, and we will say 27. We will submit this. There we go. So similarly, we can add multiple rows if you want to add dynamic rows to the data frame. Let's quickly recap. We have initialized and persisted a data frame in the session state, and we have used a segmented control style button to toggle a modal, and we have built a batched form inside the dialog box. We appended all the entries and reran the script for instant updates. At last, we have rendered an interactive data frame. For the next steps, you can extend this with filters, charts, or integrating with the database so that you can have live updates on your database, and you can add new rows if you want to add it on the fly. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Streamlit tutorials. Check the description for the full code and links to the GitHub repo. See you in the next video. By the time, happy coding.